Good evening and welcome to episode 2 of Not a Good Hockey Pod. I'm your host, Alex Nez, and this burly little bearded bastard over here is my co-host, Mick Finley. First, I want to thank you guys who watched the last episode. And for those who haven't yet, we attacked the Atlantic Division in that one. But in this episode, we'll be going over the who's who in the Metro. But before we go and jump into that, we got some updates that happened from around the league here. So, Nick, do you want to take over and go over what happened here recently?
Sure, yeah, it's not just NHL news, but just a few different things. So I figure we just update weekly, just quick things that we think are interesting. So today I found out there was a few signings for the Leafs. They ended up signing Yanni Hakapa, which was rumored a while back, but there was some stipulation that he may be injured. But clearly they went forward with the contract, so that puts them pretty close to the cap. So I'm interested to see what happens there. Obviously, there's probably some other things changing around, whether that's LTIR or trades. We'll find out.
Mm.
Also, Nick Robertson, one of their young studs, signed a 1-year extension. He had requested a trade, but it looks like they talked him into staying a little bit. They needed to keep him around, right? And they obviously convinced him that they'd be good. I don't know how they did that, but
Should have been
they
a
did.
Penguin. Should have been a
Oh,
Penguin.
sure. And then the most interesting one, I think, is that Max Pacioretty got signed to a PTO with them. I don't really know what that's looking like, but apparently there's enough rumors around that from like his agent and other insiders that he's expected to sign a deal. So pretty good moves for them across the board. I'm interested to see what they do with Hakanpää and whatnot. There's obviously always a few different signings and things like that. I'm only really touching on this because a lot happened for Toronto today. Other things have happened, right? Like Jordy Ben, he retired, that stuff. We don't have a lot of time to go over that right now, and I'm sure it will come up later. As far as like another big signing, there was, what's his name, Larson, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just see here. I think he's, Adam Larson with Seattle signed
Seattle.
a 4-year extension in Seattle.
He got a big extension.
Yeah, $21 million.
Good extension for them too.
He's great. Yeah, he's big body, and we'll get into them, right? But that was a good signing.
Yeah.
Another update real quick is that in the PWHL, the Professional Women's Hockey League, last year, their inaugural season, they came out as 6 teams, like the first 6, but they didn't have names of those teams. They were just representing in cities. So Boston was Boston PWHL team, but they did unveil all 6 teams, and I just wanted to share those here. So the first one, and the number 1 team, the best team, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. They might not be victorious in the first year, but that's because plenty of people paid off the refs in Minnesota and things like that. But Boston Fleet is the name for Boston now. I don't really want to go into like why they named them what. Each team gave a little description as to why. Feel free to look that up on your own.
Isn't it because of the harbor?
God.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Doesn't matter. Okay, so moving on from Boston Fleet. It's okay name. Minnesota Frost. Pretty cool name there for where they are. I like the logo. I'm sorry, what?
So I think it's a perfect name for them, and they're sticking with that purple, so they're starting to match the teams around them up there, which is nice.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. Montreal Victory, spelt in the French version, so I'm ending in IRE. I don't understand why they would name their team that, since they're not expected to ever win, ever. Moving on, I love this name. The logo's a little silly, but the New York Sirens.
Me too.
It's a cool name. I think it really honors the sounds of New York City. My wife chose to be a New York fan when the PWHL started. She also works on an ambulance, so I think it's just kind of cool that there's some synergy there. But this logo does look like one of those old smile S's you would draw in high school.
Absolutely. You're right.
So I'm not really into that too much.
Yeah, they just plucked that off a New York City district desk right there.
But still a cool name, really cool name. I'd like to see what they do with it. this one's ignorable to me. The Ottawa Charges. I don't get that one. I'm sure there's a description. I don't care enough.
Fucking Canada, man. Uh,
Toronto Scepters. That's a cool
mhm.
logo. Don't know enough about what a scepter is, but yeah, I mean, those are the names, right? So in Boston Fleet, Minnesota Frost, Montreal Victory, New York Sirens, Ottawa Charges, and Toronto Scepters. I think this just makes that league so much more real, and I'm really proud of that league and all the women involved. And yeah, again, this just kind of like makes it more exciting for me to have
Are you
these
calling
names.
the Ottawa Charges with an S?
Charges.
Is that what I thought they just made it
No,
the
no
Charge?
Chargers. No,
No, it's not just the
Charges.
Charge. I thought.
No, it's
Okay,
like
never
it's
mind. Carry on.
which would
Oh,
be
dude.
cooler, right? Like Sting. His name's not
Yeah, like
Stings, you
Seal,
know?
like the Ottawa Seal.
I don't know. I don't even get the logo either. But
That's weird.
ultimately, I'm glad they have names. I'm not a fan of all
Right.
of them, but I'm glad they have names. So, yeah, that does it for me. I mean, there's definitely other news around. I will interject real quick and just add that if Jeremy Swayman doesn't sign soon, there is going to be a family brawl between me and my cousin who thinks this kid is worth apparently like 15 million, more than Draisaitl makes a year. And I think he's crazy. And we've been fighting neck and neck. So I'm not going to bring up the Bruins a ton, but Swayman needs to sign before there's a divide in this family, before I get a divorce from my wife to not deal with her cousin anymore. So
Yeah,
that's
I'm
all
real
I'm going to say.
sorry and sad about your family on here, but I'm living in a city that might go into absolute shambles if a signing doesn't happen here soon. They might riot. I think things just might go up in flames around here if there's not a certain signing that happens within a couple this week. It needs to happen this week, just for
I
everybody's
hope so.
sanity. But
Yeah, and I think
of
that's a
course,
great time to get us roped back into the Metro. That's all I got for now. But yeah, I've been excited to talk about the Metro. I'm not as versed in it as you are, but I definitely have some pretty strong opinions, and I'm excited to see where you land and go from there.
man, I really wish my opinions can vary, but like, what a crazy division to go over. I mean, five of these teams all finished within a game within each other last year. They all have holes. They all have goaltending issues. Some of them kind of fixed it, but we don't know if it's going to come to fruition. I had a tough time ranking these guys for sure. I do kind of want to start off with my number one team here, and I'll kind of let you go, back and forth with it here. But I don't think there's much changing at the top of that list. I still think the Rangers are still that team to get through. I haven't seen much change happen on their team. It's not like they lost anybody crazy. They got still such just like a great leader in Chris Kreider there that a lot of people don't talk about. I mean, the guy just kind of does it all. Big dude, chips in pucks, gets in deep, great leader. That's all you ever hear out of that. So I think they did a good job of just building around that guy, it seems like, because there's a lot of complementary pieces around him there. Um, and it just seems like these younger guys are finally getting their stride again. New York kind of shockingly developed well. They didn't give up on pieces like they can do in New York, where the just fans even turn on them quick. They let people develop there. So I mean, clearly it's fucking working out. And then again, they got arguably it's. I mean, I don't really think they have much of a tandem there, but Igor can just put the whole world on his shoulders, and it's
Yeah.
crazy the acrobatic shit that guy can do in net. And I heard a rumor. I did hear a rumor that he's asking, and him and his team are asking for about $12 million next year. That kind of popped up. But that's the
Hmm.
rumor mill right now. I don't know how far that's going to go, but that's a little tough for the bank in New York if that's what that guy is looking to even sniff.
Hmm.
That's tough there too. But yeah, I mean, you got any hot take at that number
I,
one spot here in Metro?
well, I agree with you. It's the Rangers. It's a no-brainer. It's the Rangers. It pains me. It's the Rangers, but um, a lot of the things you said do make a lot of sense. I agree with, but there are other things that I find a little bit more interesting about this team than the big players like Mika and Panarin. I mean, everyone knows what to expect from those guys at this point. But there's a couple gems on that team, and they're mean.
Yeah.
and Rempire State Building, man. Like Matt Rempe is
Yeah.
the man. I hate so much that he's a Ranger. Any team would be lucky to have him, and I'm glad that they have something worth watching. I feel like, but yeah, I mean, he, he's been the talk of the town, right? Like as soon as he
Oh,
came on the scene,
yes.
everyone was stoked about what he was doing. But I have a feeling. I mean, I saw a video he's working with like LaRock this offseason and stuff, which is just hypes you up.
Oh, dude, you
But I feel
might
like
as well just be
there's
training with Tyson. It's great.
yeah, exactly, especially for the sport. But I think he's gonna carve out a more important role, not just on his fandom and just what he's done, but like being intimidating goes a long way.
Yes.
And I think Rempe does that just fine. And a lot of their team up and down is not built that way. Like you brought up Kreider, and I agree. Kreider's a power forward. He's fast. He's aggressive. But I'm not afraid of him. I don't. I mean, I would be afraid of him in a bar, but when he's playing the
Yeah.
Bruins, I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, so
That's
yeah.
that's a bold statement, but yeah.
Well, how about I wasn't afraid of him, and now that the team's better, I feel like he's driving the charge there.
Right.
But I am actually afraid of Rempe
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
what
the
and
guy
how
we
he can just
really should be afraid of. That's what we're kind of touching in this last episode previous to this, where the hockey's kind of hit that speed level, and then they kind of lost that tough guyness to it because teams were just like, "Oh, you just got to get fast to the net and you can score." Now
right,
it's kind of having that regression where like got to be tough again, and especially in the metro, you have to
right.
be tough. And unfortunately, I don't see my Pens do that. We can touch on that a little bit, but yeah,
Sure.
Rempe coming in here was just like this breath of fresh air of just like, "Oh, we're back." And we're gonna
You're
fucking
mean.
bang here, boys. And when you come through the
No,
garden, you better keep your head on a swivel.
for
And
sure.
it's nice to see that they got guys like that again. I don't, man, you're right. There's not many teams who can keep up with him.
No, and another secret gem that I don't know if he gets a lot of talk because I'm not in these Rangers talks, but Lindgren, who was a trade from the Bruins for Rick Nash. Um, I didn't know much about him when he was a prospect for the Bruins, but he is a tough dude and he is a great defenseman. I think of him a lot in perspective of like a smaller Brandon Carlo, stay at
Mhm.
home, makes the smart decisions. Doesn't have a lot of light shine on him, but if you're a Rangers fan, you love him. I'm sure there's not a lot to dislike there. I think he's just the kind of guy you want on your team, and they're filled with that. I mean,
Yeah,
again, there was some question marks with Laugh. Laugh is kind of coming into his own. Capo, same thing. I don't really know if Rangers fans love him or not, but you don't
yeah,
you don't just give up though. You got to give it some time. So yeah, not much more to talk about, right? Their team is stacked. They're number one for me. I wouldn't be surprised if they ended number one at the end of the year.
yeah.
Um, but it is kind of tight for me, and I almost didn't select the Rangers.
Same.
Um, as you were saying, like these are all kind of divided. My number two is the Hurricanes, and it was kind of close. And I think the real issue I found with putting the Hurricanes there is it's really like when you're looking rosters next to each other, right? And I'm gonna pull up the Hurricanes right now, but when you're looking at the roster, the Rangers just have so much like proven talent, and although the roster is similar over on the Carolina side of things, I don't know if they're utilizing those players the correct way.
Exactly my thoughts as well too.
Okay,
Yep. I had the same thing there. I did struggle back with them. I still even felt hesitant at two, but when you look at the rest of the division, you're like, you still got to go through them. You got to prove me wrong that they're not going to be this elite team. Um, yeah, there was some changes there. Again, it all comes down to goaltending as these top two teams. I
sure.
mean, they have fast forwards. They can score. Um, I just when it comes to that toughness, though. Like, where's that guy? Maybe I'm a little ignorant on this, but where's that guy that they kind of brought in that can keep up with the Rempe that's going to beat up their their bottom lines and force those top lines to go back out there? And it's going to be tough to keep up with momentum against teams like the Rangers, these other teams that's if what the seeds that they planted and they start getting a little bit better, the Canes can kind of get a little shaky and they're kind of falling back into that other group with these teams here. But they struggled again. I know I always go back to goaltending, but they struggled again. Freddie Anderson in and out, went through all that last year. They got this young guy. I'm gonna struggle with that name, but I think it is Peter. I'm gonna go with
It's
Peter.
I've heard it Pietor.
Pietor
Of course it's
Cockfins.
that.
Yeah, something like that. So, I mean, he looked good again, but he's
Yeah.
just still in that early works as a goaltender, and we'll see what happens with him. But
Hmm.
he looks very promising for them. So if that guy can really step up and really take a lot of the grunt work, they got a decent defense in front of them. They do have some just they're smaller and they're a little bit more quick on defense, but their defense are just like little thorns. When you watch the Hurricanes, they're just little thorns in your ass, dude. They just fucking
Yeah.
chip at you and chip at you, and that's really difficult to beat in this league. So yeah, I have them at my number two for
As well.
sure.
Okay.
And it was tough because I'm like, man, they should be at the bottom of the barrel because you gave away Jake Gensel after everything. So
My God, with the Jake Gensel shit. Okay. Back to the goaltending thing because I do right. When you're comparing the Rangers and you're comparing the Hurricanes, Freddie is a good goaltender.
yeah,
Freddie in and out of the lineup. You're right. Pietor Kochkov or whatever his name is. He showed flashes of brilliance. I remember him suiting up against the Bruins and really put a wall up. I don't, again, watch enough of them, but their goaltending is clearly the divide. And although the Rangers do have like Keandre and Fox and all these guys on defense, I don't know if I would say the same things like they're thorns because like you're right, they are like a smaller, faster group. But I mean, they're big core guys like Slavin, Burns, Chatfield impressed me last year. I love Orlov's game. I mean, they play bigger than they are. They are big, some of
right.
them. But they got Sean Walker. Now, if you haven't paid attention to Sean Walker, he's
No,
another guy that's
so
gone
I forgot they
super.
got him.
Yeah, he's from LA. I think he came from LA. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
yep.
his last name. I don't understand what happened there. Like he was just all of a sudden on a different team. He seemed like he was going to be a big part of the LA Kings future. I'll look into that more when we're down in the Pacific. But I I look at their list of defensemen, and they've got 7 top 4 defensemen in me, or people that can swap in and out just fine, right? Like that's a really good problem to have. Moving along though, all of these guys up top, I mean, you're right, not a lot's changed, but do they actually have a top 6 like other
Exactly.
teams? Not like the Rangers.
They've
They
made it work,
they
but
have. But okay, so breaking that down, Sebastian Aho, God, fantastic player, way underrated in the league. He's like the new Barkov. Like people ignore him, and they're gonna find out real quick that they shouldn't have.
ever,
Um,
yeah, no, he's a dog.
he's a dog, dude. And then Seth Jarvis again, and
Yep,
Paul did not keep him in the keeper list. Hilarious.
crazy. It's the first name that I
Um,
looked for, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like the dude just signed a fat extension too, and deservingly. Like he's a good
yeah,
player.
great player. I love Marty Nietzsche. I think it's a matter of time before he's a Bruin. I'm not just I'm there was a lot of conversations between him and the Pasta connection.
Yeah,
I'm I think that they're going to run out of money and he's going to come home to his baby boys and he's going to get a lot of love over here. Great. Here's the question marks for me. A lot of people will not agree with this, but I'm saying it anyway. Okay. Jordan Stahl is 2 years younger than I am and I can't even get out of bed. Okay?
yeah.
Like and he's played a very physical game for a long time. I don't understand what he's still doing there. I understand the love for him.
Yeah.
I don't like the Kokanyemi deal. And I don't think that the Hurricanes like the Kokanyemi deal either, because I've seen him on the fourth line a few times this year, and that's a big contract for a long time. He needs to step up.
Yeah.
And then the third one, and this is where everyone's going to go up in arms if they care, it's Svechnikov. 3 years ago, would have said, okay, there's your next Ovechkin, and
Yes.
you build around him. And I don't think I've seen them favor him on a top line wing spot yet. And when he is in these like crucial moments, I feel like he disappears on the ice.
Hmm.
Not that he disappears on the ice because of him, but because they're not really utilizing him in the right places, right? Like
Right.
he's
Right.
with somebody that's already scoring all the goals, like Aho in a power play situation. So it's easy to be ghosted. You know, I don't really know what they're doing with him. I know he's been injured a lot. I know he doesn't have the best luck.
That's the problem with him. Just injured a lot.
I don't know if it's just that, but I would love to see him take a huge step because he is young. He's
Right.
signed long term, I'm pretty sure,
Yeah.
and it's a fucking awesome contract that anybody would love to have. Um, but he really needs to be the guy, I think, on that wing. And I think almost like Seth Jarvis stole the show, and that might be some Warrior I'm getting this from. But yeah, I'd love to see more from him, and I'd love to see them use him better. But you were talking about their tough guys. Oh, don't worry, bud. They got the answer. Brendan Lemieux came over.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right.
Oh, wow.
But outside of that, I'll
Tough
say, because,
guys.
yeah, tough guys.
Yeah, tough guys. All right, moving on. So
Yeah,
we
I'm moving
agree
on with
the
him
first
because,
two.
I'm
First
sorry, was
two,
that?
right?
Yeah, first two were
So
lined
we
up.
agree on those. Okay. All right. You
Yeah.
you you tell me your third.
This is where everything gets taken with a grain of salt. I don't even know if I buy into this myself. Like I said, I struggled after the first two. I was like, I don't even know what do I do with my hands with this? So a lot of it came down to my hypotheticals and what ifs in my head. So what if the New Jersey Devils actually turn it up a
Mm,
notch?
mm,
And now that they got Markstrom, they fulfilled my love for goaltending here and what actually can just make or break a team. If that guy can really just live up to everything that he has been, and he goes to New Jersey and he crushes it, that takes so much weight off that back end, and they can play a little bit more freely.
mm-hmm.
Um, Actually, yeah, I had so much scratching and everything else on here. This just looks like I just had a whole like manic fit. So I have them all over the place here. But they do have, a solid top six. They're a young team, but they're growing. They have a lot of good veterans in that locker room to kind of guide these kids too that are growing. And it just looks like they're not missing a beat. Um, I mean, they have the banner play after their games. I mean, I would love to see the Devils like actually turn it up a notch. And even though it's so weird for me to talk highly on any of these teams around the Penguins, they just look like a fun team, and I really want them to succeed. I think this Markstrom move here, even though they had to give up a first, they have so many other good pieces where they don't really need to rush into anybody just yet here. So they should be able to like let the team kind of grow a bit. They kind of made some mistakes last year that I think when they tried to move Luke Hughes as the top one and throw him in the power play there,
Mm,
and they took away Dougie Hamilton. I know Dougie kind of got a little injured there, but I mean, when he's back, he's the guy, man. Like, how are you
sure.
like moving him down and taking him out of a power play? And they kind of screw up the chemistry. So last year, I just think that wasn't their true story. So I do have them at number three. Again, who knows with this fucking division? But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they got that little secret sauce down that fourth line banger of Nathan Bastion. If that little fuck can stay healthy too, talk about being tough. I mean, that
Yeah,
guy, fantasy sleeper for those who actually want to check into that.
for sure.
That guy can hit. That's all he does. So I mean, you got tough bottom four. You got a pretty solid top six. You have the veteran young kid blend there, and you finally got yourself a goalie with some pretty decent coaching as well. So they look like they want to win there. Hopefully that can turn it up. You got any thoughts on your third slot?
Yeah, it's not the Devils.
I knew it.
It's
Yeah, I
it's
was thinking
not
that.
it's not the Devils.
Yeah.
But I say that sadly. I would prefer to have put them in the second spot, but
That'd be
they
awesome.
really took a huge step back last year, and I know, like you just mentioned, they addressed Markstrom. Um, yep, I like this is where the fanboy comes out in me. Like I can love up Elias Lindholm like he's God's gift to the Bruins, but he's had just about as questionable amount of time as Markstrom has, both coming from awful teams, being down. I have faith that Markstrom's going to come back just like Lindholm is. But then after that, Jake Allen and then Nico Dawes, Nico down here in Utica as for the Comets
Hmm.
is awesome because he's like a fringe goalie, but that's not deep. It's
No,
not it's
that's
not deep.
the only problem. Yeah.
I'm gonna actually say because of a few things, I'm putting the Islanders there. Uh, and I think it's a pretty good transition for the goaltending portion. I mean, Tristan Lennox is untouched, and we're unsure what he'll be, but I can almost guarantee he's going to be a better prospect than Nico is. You have Ilya, you have Varlamov, both proven to be just fantastic goaltenders. Islanders and Islanders fans, man, I've heard a lot from Islanders fans about their frustrations with this team and the way that, lose building it and the way that they've been coached and stuff. All that changes. All that changes when Waugh comes in.
Right.
Psychopath.
Right. My guy.
Psychopath.
Big wall
Love that
guy
guy.
for
Love that guy.
sure.
Is he extended? Like, did they make that official? Before I go into
I
Patrick Waugh's the GOAT, let me
am
just see.
90% sure. But yeah, I mean, shit, I loved what he did. He was that first guy to really just kind of set the tone for the Avalanche to kind of take their transition too. Like
Hmm.
he's not a bad coach. It is a little odd to bring him in at this time, but I don't
I
think it
love it.
hurts them.
I love
I
it.
don't think it hurts them at all. That's
I
where I had
love
a
it.
lot of. I wanted to kind of shake it up with this third spot here. It was really tough to kick the Isles out of there, for that reason too. I was like, dang, they got the coaching. They have really good goaltending here.
Yeah, so he is still there, just so you know. But one big difference, like you were talking about Dougie, you're talking about Luke. Their defensive structure on the Islanders, Noah Dobson, beginning, middle, and end for that's everything. That's everything type of defenseman that you build around. And then his complementary pieces are so good with Pellick, Pollock. I love how there's two guys with similar names. It's always
Right.
funny to me. Great, great players. They got that kid from Montreal, Romanoff, for nothing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And he was a dog up there. And
Yeah.
he's a dog. I haven't paid attention to him as an Islander, but I know he's good. You got that
Hmm.
rookie in Bolduc. Like again,
Yeah,
it's
the
another
Samuel.
situation where you have like seven players that are top four defensemen is a good problem to have. And then I don't know anything at all about their cap issues and stuff, but there are two things that I want to say. Bo Horvat's about to be Bo Horvat of the old days,
Hmm.
for sure. You don't just lose that, and he's proven time and time again he can step up. He just needs to get a little bit more comfortable. And I think the question mark is, will they finally put Matthew Barzal in a position to shine? If they do, Islanders are cup contenders.
Oh,
That's
for
my
sure.
hot take. That's
Right.
my hot take on it. And the comp, I mean, dude, anybody would kill for name of Nelson, Palmieri.
Say Brock
Uh,
Nelson was a guy that had kind of starred here too. Like he's always gonna just give you production, and these guys are tough in New York, man. They're just brutes. And yeah,
yep,
that addition to Horvat, that's what I wasn't sure. And I kind of, again, ignorant of me too. They're gonna kind of towards the end of last season, you started seeing Barzal kind of pick it up a bit. And like you said, he just needed some complementary pieces around of him to just kind of do his thing. And if
yep.
that transitions and shows up in this whole next season, yeah, Islanders are going to be up there. They just know how to just sneak by and win. They can get streaky though,
Hmm.
from the last couple of years. So that's why I just like couldn't fully buy into them. That's why I was like, you know what, if
They
the Devils just pick it up a bit, they can just get over that hump. But like I said, that's like
one long fart noise sometimes for a month
yeah,
with the Islanders. Like you can watch them and you're just like, man, they cannot put it together. I have all the faith in the world though that some time with the coaching, some time with that defense can't fail you. The goaltending really can't, and the forwards are dogs. Lee, the captain, dog. I love all of them. Nelson, Lee, they're a great team, and so that puts the Devils 4 for me.
Mm.
And I can compliment what you're saying, but there's also so many here. Outside looking in, this team has done such a fantastic job
Yeah.
at. Hold on, being a dickhead. Such a fantastic job at favoring people they didn't develop.
Mm.
How many players on the
Good
New
point.
Jersey Devils have they brought over, paid big money to, while they've choked out their youth to literally having RFAs available? Like, all right, yes, Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes, Luke Hughes, awesome,
That's
awesome,
just for
awesome,
Brett. What are
right?
you talking about? Just for Brett's
Brett, sorry, Brett, and
fantastic.
Mercer, Alexander Holtz, all these things are Devils born and
And
raised.
yeah.
But the big money is going to Andre Palat. The big
Yeah.
money is going to
Emo.
Timo Meyer. They brought over Tatar. I don't know if he's making big money, but again, Eric Holla makes way too much money for what he does. I have a buddy that's a Devils fan who loved the Pavel Zacha for Holla trade. It worked out for both of our teams, but what?
Yeah.
Eric, like, I'm sorry, he's a third line center at best, whereas Zaka's our top line left wing by circumstance, should be second on any other team, but found comfort with Pasta, found the right setting. Holla found a good setting. Dougie, big bucks, man, and you've got people coming up, man. It's not just that Luke Hughes is going to need to get paid eventually and stuff like that. A guy that no one knows under the radar, again, being a Comets guy, Simon Nemec. I think it was the 4th overall pick a couple years ago. Stud. And they just don't have. They're not going to have the money with all these big dumb deals. And again, I'm not a manager, and they're not dumb deals. These are all great players. I just think that they've spent their money oddly. They've favored people that they haven't raised. They've lost players like Saka, Bachfist, people that I'm not even thinking about right now. But all these younger guys that were like there, and then they're another team that was impacted by the Hockey Canada team bullshit.
Right.
What was it? Cal Foot, right? Nolan's brother. Nolan's still there. I don't.
I
He
say
wasn't
no
a
one's
part of
still
that.
there. Right.
But Cal Foot gone because of that shit. Good riddance. But again, it's just not enough for me to say that they are going to be a dominant top 3 in their division. It is enough for me to say that they're going to make the playoffs.
Right.
If their goaltending just finally fucking works this year. Don't know though.
That's
So
what it was.
fourth for me.
It was the gambling guy in me when I was looking at that. I'm like, like you said, the money thing was a big thing in this decision where I was just like, is their investment finally going to break? Like, you just hear it. They have the talent there. And last year, I feel like that talent didn't even come close to what is really built into them. So I'm like, if
Sure.
they do just get it, I think they can just have that extra edge. But I did forget about the backup, just the depth for goaltending in New York. And they do have such a strong defense, but the Devils can too. And then that's where I was like,
Yeah.
man, maybe if their speed can just kind of outgo with their brute, we'll see how that kind of plays out. But yeah, it's nice to see that we're actually changing things up here from last year. Number
You know what?
4, unless you got something.
Before you tell me your number 4, what my favorite thing is that in my reality, the Penguins aren't in the top 4.
Listen, they shouldn't be in my top 4 either. But here's
And
my
you're
number
gonna
four.
fucking put them there. Okay. All
I
right.
can't not count out Sidney Crosby in a playoff spot
All right.
ever. All right,
All right.
ever.
Okay.
And it's been tough in this city watching this. Actually, I don't even have notes. I have written next to the pens here riff because we're just gonna fucking go with the flow on this because that's what this team's done in the past couple of years, and I'm fucking fired up over this thing.
Hit me.
Because for the last couple of years, it was just like a plant. It's like you get Fenway Sports Management. Here's my real yinzer coming out right now. Coming down here, they're throwing in Flyers GMs and shit and that down in the front office, just blowing it all up. Ron Hextall, what he did to this team was abysmal. I just can't understand how you just dismantle an entire team around legends. And it was almost like it was just an obvious plan. It was crazy to me. I'm waking up every day and I'm like, I'm gonna drive off the fucking Clementi Bridge. How do you
Okay.
go and talk about spending money like the Devils and stupidly? Jesus Christ, we extended Jeff Carter to like a max deal. We brought in Michael Garland. Yeah,
Uh,
Granlund from fucking Nashville. Old,
yeah.
washed, mid. Just brought in all this dismantled the bottom six. It was awful. Our blessing here, which I wasn't really sure, I was kind of skeptical with Dubas coming in and taking over. I'm like, good luck, dude. Good luck. You're doomed to fail because you just
Yeah.
had a guy for 2 years just blow up this team and just made me cry in my sleep every single night. It's just crazy. So I think even as bad as they were last year, and as
Yeah.
bad as what Hextall left them, I mean, you're fucking laughing. I'm on one already.
Sorry. I'm sorry. This is real. Hit me with it.
if
Hit me with
if
it, baby.
they just somehow had a good power play, they're squeaking into the playoffs, and they were awful last year. They had zero power play. I watched our coach say, "Let me cook something up here," and he just froze. And he's like, "I don't even know what I'm doing here. I don't know what to do with my hands." That was our whole
Right.
assistant coach right there. So
Yeah.
if you're going to sit there and tell me that the Pens don't have some way to squeak in there, again, depending what
Mm.
the Isles can really do here, if that comes to fruition, or if the Devils do, we got to see truly what those guys can do. But it's still, I feel like with the other remaining teams here, can make the Pens squeak in if. And again, every pretty much team here is a big if as to where they fall for me. If they can just get the same production last year. I mean, they did fix their bottom six got much better, but if they can just get that power play, I mean, dude, we're talking bottom of the barrel from last year. We're not saying we got better to an elite status again. This isn't 2017, but like the little pieces that Dubas kind of picked up around kind of brought back a little bit of grit, which I kind of liked. It just seems like there's some youth there, there's some speed there, and we're kind of starting to see some size. I kind of like the aggressive. We got to win now while Crosby's still in this town, and alive. And it's just, I kind of like that push from him, like this urgency still, because I mean, after
Sure.
Crosby, we're going to have dark decades probably around here if I had to take a guess. So, I mean, I'm in
Sure.
this mode where I'm just like, you got to win now. You got to get it out of your system and get into that playoffs as much as you can because shit's going to get real ugly once the GOAT leaves.
Mm.
Um, Oh, I mean, all three goats, really. The three-headed monster leaves.
Oh
They're all
my
going to go
God.
out at the same time. So, I do have them squeaking in, and that is a big asterisk there, is if you can fix a couple things. They picked up, it's kind of crazy how we're mentioning a lot of these teams where they're like, oh, they got this, no-name guy, and he came from the Kings. So I'm kind of excited to talk about what the fuck are the Kings doing. But we got Lazat, I believe, out of the Kings, too.
Yeah. Yep.
And he, I only watched a little. I couldn't. I mean, we're back on the East Coast here, so it's tough for me to watch a lot of West Coast games this past year. But every time I watched them, dude's throwing some bows, going in deep in the corner, moving the puck where it should be. That's something I didn't really get to see last year, and I went to a lot of games last year. And I am definitely due for some financial fucking compensation from this team from last year, from watching that train wreck. It was awful. Um, it shouldn't have happened to Crosby, but that guy just took the whole team on his back and still was like 2 games out of a playoff spot. Um, Tough part with them, they're running it back with the goaltending tandem
Yeah.
with Jari and Ned. I don't know. It's if he can
I'm gonna.
stay healthy, he's not bad. He just chokes in bigger games. The goaltending's tough. I really wish we could have figured something out there. Um, But again, we gave away everything the last few years. We don't have any leverage. Like what Dubas
Yeah.
did with this team with zero leverage and any of this, like just moving around pieces and still just, I don't know, making more cap space at the same time somehow. Um, Carter
Somehow.
leaving helped, but somehow. But
Yep.
he figured it out. The dude is a magician. I'm going to give him his flowers because I know he had a lot riding on him. I know you're probably just drooling at the bone to go after him and just
Oh
dogging
yeah.
his team.
Oh yeah.
But I have to remain optimistic for my own mental
Sure.
health. But I
Let's
will
get.
let you go.
Let's get. I'm gonna just say I know that you're four. We got to obviously figure out what your five is, but they are my five, but by default. Okay. I truthfully suspected that they would end up probably sixth on this team. I'm sorry, on this list, just based on what the Flyers have coming up. Like I fucking hate the Flyers.
Me too.
Hate them. But credit where it's due, they're in a transition phase. And when you're in this kind of phase, similar to like the Sharks, these type of teams that have like a lot of like high end prospects that are exciting, you're foaming at the mouth to watch. I feel like 9 times out of 10, maybe 8 times out of 10, that team ignites and shoots up in this, and it might be a flash in the pan situation, but by default, because that's unproven, because there's some other teams that are just shit shows, the Penguins are my 5th. I got 2 words for you, baby. Rucker McGrody. All right?
Dog!
Dog.
I
got to tell a quick story. My buddy is a Penguins fan. I grew up with him. I went over to his house a few years ago. We're watching a Penguins-Bruins game, and he's fucking barking at me. He's like, we always just find some guy that's no name, and he's just the king. And right then and there, Teddy fucking Bluger rips a shot in. So just for years, we've just been jokingly Teddy Bluger diehards, right?
Oh, yeah, big Bluger guy.
Big Blugers. Love the Blugs. And then he left. And that was my text to him all the time. Like, you know what your fucking problem is? You ain't got a Bluger, right? Like, that's what the problem is. As soon as Rucker got traded, I texted him. I'm like, this is our guy. He didn't even think about it. He's like, I'm getting Jersey. This is my guy. He's a fucking dog. No, he didn't, but he should. And I'll tell you, like, he's the only fucking guy on this list that I'm even remotely excited to watch. And I know that hurts to hear, buddy, but I've watched all these guys because they've been here since 1964. Listen, I get what you're right. That power play, those guys, the goats, the 3 goats, they were awesome in Shell 1998 when you were setting up your fucking Hut team, sending one-timers across the crease. But they're 150 fucking years old, and they're signed for 150 more years. Such bad planning. We're not talking about just him. All right. Crosby is obviously otherworldly. I'm not gonna get on a pod and tell you that Sidney Crosby isn't great. He's not young. He's not. In hockey years, he's not. He's a young man.
Right.
In hockey years, he's in the back 9. And you're right. There is an urgency from this Dubas to get Erik Karlsson over here. And
He had to.
I get it.
To save from his head from going on a spike out there.
Listen,
he had to. I didn't like the move. I think I was the only one in this city that didn't really like that move, but sorry to cut you off.
No, you're entitled to that opinion, although it'd be wrong because it was the right move after the year Karlsson had.
It ended up being the right move.
He did fine. He's got more to bring. I think Karlsson has a clear problem with being comfortable. He was phenomenal in Ottawa. He didn't really fit in San Jose. They moved out Burns, and he got more comfortable.
100-point season out there,
right? And then it was a trajectory, right? It took these years, had 100 points on a team that didn't have 5 wins that year, and he got out of that hellhole and came over to play with Sid. And I think you got some big pieces. Goaltending, I have no idea. Ned, Jari,
I don't know.
They may be good. They may be not good. I don't know enough about them. I just know that they're not who you want as your 1A, 1B starting the season. But I'm looking at this defense, man, and outside of Letang, Karlsson, I guess Graves. I think a lot of you guys like Marcus Pettersson. I have no idea.
He's good. He's about to sign too. Hopefully, we get him.
He's a Swede. Term. He's a Swede. Swedes are good at defense, man. Like okay, but that is 3.5 of your top 4. We've been talking about teams that have 7 top 4, right?
Right.
And now you picked up Matt Grzelcyk. Congrats. That's going to work out well for you.
I know.
That kid, love him to death. Charlestown hero.
Right.
Grew right out of the Bruins system a long time ago. He always seems to find a way to put himself in a position to get hurt, which is all the Penguins need, since their defense is always so healthy. That it was so smart that this genius Dubas was like, I know who to get. Matt Grzelcyk, a guy that doesn't stay healthy.
You had to get with the pennies that he was left with. That was the problem with that too. And I mean, like you get
The problem with that, Nez, is Kevin Hayes being on this fucking team.
yeah. What Kevin Hayes are we gonna get? The guy that we've been seeing in Philly for a long time that just
You're going to get that bloated contract, and you're
I
going to
mean,
get another older guy with a big, big paycheck that allows you to buy the Matt Grizzlies of the world. So until your guy, your Dubas loving guy, this guy that you love so much,
whoa,
figures out how to
pump the brakes.
shovel the shit out of the back end,
We're
I'm not
appreciative
moving
of
anymore.
the little minor things that he had to do around here just to kind of
No,
spark a little bit of
minor
grit in this
things.
team.
He brought on a buttload of cap with age. That's what he did, and that's what he's going to be known for. But there is one or two good things he's done, and I say that because Rucker. Obviously, I love the name. I don't know a fucking thing. I remember him taunting in Sweden in the penalty box. That dude is the man. All right. What is he going to do? Question mark. It's no different than anything else. I can't just say he's going to be great. I
Right.
don't know. I think Michael Bunting's a fucking dog.
There we go.
I think Michael Bunting is a dog. I think you know exactly what you're gonna get from him. He was great in Toronto. He was great in Carolina. Guy's kind of been shafted everywhere he goes. He's
Yes.
got nothing but the rope here. He's gonna plow his way into goal. He's gonna make some sick plays, sick goals. You're gonna love him as a fan. I hope he's there forever. It's a perfect environment for him, right next to Sid. Stop messing with him. Don't put him with Malkin.
Right.
No one needs to bring that boat along with him. He needs to be up in the. Put Russ with Malkin. That's fine. That's fine. Get some play on
That's
that
what we're
with
kind of
that.
hoping that can kind of switch out. Or Ricard. I mean,
Sure.
Ricard and Melkin can kind of play well together. We've kind of noticed with that too. And I'm with you on that. I was, again, this is why I know shit about fuck a lot of the times because when we lost JG59, RIP, to and we ended up getting Michael Bunting. I'm like, I remember watching him in Toronto. I'm like, and that guy couldn't do anything next to Austin Matthews. I'm like, what? Or I was like, here we go again. I'm like, I just can't. What am I supposed to
Listen,
do with this team? It's heartbreaking. But then I went to a couple games and I watched him. Actually, I saw him in the last game of the season last year, and I was like, oh, it's starting to make sense. It's a good fit for this team. Like he's in front of that net, he's chipping them in. That's a Patrick Hornquist that hole that we were missing for a long time. And yeah, I agree. I think he's going to be. I think the fans are going to love him. I think the fans had a lot of sour taste in our mouth because of him because of what we lost out of it because we thought
mm-hmm.
Jake would be that next younger guy to kind of lead the pack. It's kind of how we do things around here. But yeah,
Got to
Bunting's a big piece of that.
waving that finish line flag here, man. We've been talking. We have all year to talk about how much the Penguins suck. So let's move
I
on to
know.
your
I'm
five.
just trying to get it out now before I have to go
No,
fucking miserable
no,
the
you're gonna
next
be
7 months.
miserable.
But where are we? What are we
Your
doing here?
five. We need to know that they're my five. What's your five? And there's a lot to unpack in the bottom three. So not rapid fire, but best you got as quick as you can. What's your number five?
So I got 3, 4, 5. Isles are my number 5.
Okay.
And again, that comes with that little spot right there from New Jersey Pens and Islanders. Who knows what's going to shift in there? If they kind of just do the same thing as last year, it's anybody's game, I think. But yeah, I mean, Islanders, we kind of went through a lot of that. They are just a juggernaut. They
Yeah.
could be if they just don't turn into like a dud at some point. If they can stay just consistent and headstrong, they're going to be maybe not the most fun team to watch, but they're definitely just going to be a steamroller. They're big. They've always been tough. They have a core that's been there for a long time, so they just know how to. I'm sure their locker room's strong.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, if things
If
go
they don't,
south here, Pittsburgh Isles are definitely in this playoff spot for sure. Like,
I disagree. I think they're guaranteed, but I can also see your side on that. I really can. They do dud out. They fart sound for a month. That happens with them. The Penguins, you're talking about Sid. Can't really count them out. So I see your reasoning there, but I think it's way off. But I understand why.
yeah, I think it's. I mean, yours probably when it comes to like logic. Sure, me, I'm gambling. I fucking wild carded this thing. All right.
All right. What's six for you?
But
What we got for six?
I got the Caps at 6.
Okay.
Because they're, old as shit. What are you gonna do? I don't know if they even have. Do they even have a goaltender? Should I go apply on Indeed to be their goaltender down there?
I think that you have a shot. I think you have a shot because I'm pretty sure it's Lindgren is their
I
starting
think it's
goaltender.
Lindgren. Yeah, Charlie
Yeah.
Lindgren. I think that's their starter.
Yep.
There's nobody behind him, right? That you know of. I don't know any of
Let
these
me pull
guys.
it
They're
up.
pretty young. Um,
Logan Thompson. He was in the Knights
oh,
system.
he was sneaking down here. I didn't know that. I didn't know
Yep.
that. Okay, still.
Yeah.
Um,
Still. Okay. I mean, it's pretty
but
tough when you're talking about the bottom three to make it make sense why they're good, right?
yeah, this is where it gets
It's
even harder for a different reason to
right,
talk about them.
right.
Ovi's
I
going to be
think
65 years old. He's just parked up with his walker at the point, just taking slappers, and I hope he achieves his goals and everything. That's great. But is that really good for a team that's kind of, I can't even really say young as I'm looking here. I mean, their wingers are a little, they're still high 20s. But they just look like kind of a cluster, and then they get, Pierre Luc. Uh, Hopefully he found his home. His home wasn't in LA. Maybe DC is. That place stinks.
yeah,
So good luck finding your home there.
yeah.
Um, it's just I just don't see them really taking a leap to beat these other teams that we've been mentioning just yet. It's kind of hard to even chat
I
about
don't
them.
I don't even think that's an argument, right? We're not considering them. I mean, they okay. Also, they made the playoffs last year, and your team didn't. So
Well,
it's
right, yeah,
hard.
exactly. That's a whole different ball game, though. All right, different
Whoa,
year.
whoa, whoa, whoa. I didn't mean that negatively. Also, I did mean it negatively. But what I am saying is, how the fuck did they do that with what they have, right? So I'm with you. They're there for me too. Only because of Ovechkin, because I probably would have put the Flyers above them. I'm looking at this team's roster right now. There's no what depth? None. One of you gets hurt. I don't even think you have enough forwards to play the next game.
No.
I think Backstrom's done, which let's
Yeah, that's
like hold on. Rest in peace if he is, man. Nicholas Backstrom, love or hate the Capitals. What a that's the key, that just like a Bergeron or a Sid or
for sure.
so that's you put your kid in front of the TV and you say like that. You do that. That's the guy that you
Yes.
want everyone to play like. So if he's done, that sucks for the league, for the
That's
Capitals, for the league. But I think that's what they're doing here with PLD, and I'm going to touch on that in a minute. But all right, Ovi, Oshi, that's it's a fucking answer. I mean, okay,
that's it. That's what I said. I'm looking up and
Strom
down here.
had a
I'm
good
like,
year. I mean, can you really bet on Lapierre? Can you really bet on Mangiapane fitting in right away? I heard Connor McMichael's a stud. I don't know enough. Oshie has been in and out of the lineup for 5 years. I
yes,
know
and
he's
he's
always hurt.
also old, isn't he? He's up there.
He's
He's
up
getting up
there.
there in
He's
age.
up there.
He's 37. He's 37. So
Oh, I didn't even know that. I thought he was more like 34, 37. Yes, he's way up. That's old. And Ovi is clearly taking steps back. I don't think I'd ever tell him that to his face, but Tom Wilson, man, Tom Wilson, a very God, I
I hate him.
hate Tom Wilson.
I hate him. I could speak 5 minutes on how we hate him.
I
However,
hate Tom Wilson. I want him to be a Bruin tomorrow. Uh,
yes, would I
uh,
love him on my team? Absolutely,
yeah,
without a
but
doubt.
that's
I'll
not
take him
enough.
tomorrow.
It's
But
not
it's
enough.
not enough.
Then you go into their goaltending situation, fart sounds. Then you go into their defense, and this is where I think they made a lot of improvements. And not enough for me to push them above the Flyers, but I am interested in it because Carlson Chikrin, Matt Roy or Wah, I don't know what it is, but it's spelled like Wah, so I'm going to just call him Matt Wah. And Sandine, TVR is still there. Alexander Alexiev has bright spots from what I've seen. Ethan Bear is there. Martin Feravari they love him there. I think he's a brute. I think he's like their
He
bottom six
is.
guy that just kills. They have a great defensive core. They really do.
Right.
It's nothing flashy. It's not
No.
Makar plus. It's really good. It's a little bit aged. It's really good and it's solid and it's interchangeable. Their forward group is Ovechkin and Co, and that
I
Co
think
is in question.
they got Chitrin too, right? Was that this
Chikrin,
season?
yeah. I
Chitrin?
I love him, and I know he didn't really pan out in Ottawa for them. I know Arizona had to let him go in those situations. I hope he found a home here, man, because like honestly, great hockey player. Reminds me back when Shattenkirk went to the Capitals. Like that. Do you remember that when he left St.
Yeah,
Louis?
yeah,
And
yeah.
like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I feel like he obviously Shattenkirk was in a contract year and was lighting the stat sheet on fire, and that was not the
Right.
case for Chikrin. But I feel like that's the player he is.
He was in
Prime
Arizona to get
Shattenkirk.
himself out of Arizona, and
Yep.
what we were talking about in the last episode, please go and watch that. That Ottawa still they on paper they were looking so good. He could have been
Mm-hmm.
a good spot there. I don't blame him for taking that deal up there, but for them
Right.
to kind of flip it and kick him right out,
It's weird.
weird.
But the weirdest thing is PLD.
Yeah.
Weirdest thing is PLD. And I'm divided on it. I think I was telling you earlier before we started this. I was like, I have a lot to say on the PLD thing. I actually don't have much to say. I have two things to say. PLD has shown enough times that he does not give a fuck when he doesn't give a fuck. That does not make him a bad athlete,
No,
but it
but
makes him a terrible teammate.
yeah,
If anybody was going to succeed on a team with a bad attitude, it would be the Washington fucking Capitals. They are filled
yeah,
with people that you
that's
don't
their
want
identity,
to
huh?
be. Yeah, it's just a bunch of fucking people that you don't think you'd ever want to hang out with. Unless you're you know what I mean? And that works for them and that's great. You're right, that is their identity. Just a bunch of dudes that probably are carrying and and they're sketchy and they have button-up shirts on and it's too late for them to be out. That's their whole fucking time and it's
Yeah,
great for them. It's totally great for them. PLD will probably do really well there, honestly. He has a high upside and he's young. And if he finds some comfort and he stops crying, he's going to be a fantastic center and a great Backstrom replacement. He's going to fucking play with Ovechkin. If
right,
Backstrom's not in, he's
right.
going to play with Ovechkin and he's going to look better anyway. So if Ovi can instill that fear that he instills on
I think he
everybody,
can. He's got old
I
man
I
Russian
think
strength. I think that's just
back when the trade deadline was happening last year and there's all those rumors of Olmark being moved and he blocked a trade, I was hoping, and this might make me sound really stupid, that it was PLD.
mm,
We were in such a need for a center that I was desperate for PLD to come here and learn from Marchand. And I don't think that changes going over to the Capitals. I'm glad we addressed center, not PLD. It was the right move. I think we got infinitely better by not getting him. But we were so desperate for a center, I was into it. And the Capitals are exactly in that same spot. They have nothing if Backstrom doesn't come back. And I heard everyone loves Nick Dowd. I don't know anything about him. Doesn't matter. They got their center replacement, moving the fuck on. They're
right.
bottom three. Wouldn't surprise me if they were dead last either. Don't think they're making the playoffs this year. I'm going to roll real quick into the clear bottom two. I think we're probably on the same page. I'm going to start with number 8 and go into 7. There's more for me to talk about in 7. Number 8's the Blue Jackets.
Yeah,
I mean, there is a ton of negative news happening for the Blue Jackets. Seems like all the time. Losing Johnny and his brother Matty, horrible for the hockey world, horrible for that team,
that
horrible
is
for that family. Like when I sent you that text today, we just, he had his funeral and his wife announced the third kid. It doesn't matter if he's a hockey player. It doesn't matter who he is. You don't want to hear that story about your neighbor's neighbor you never met.
right, right.
Johnny's been a part of my hockey life for a long time. It's not a personal attachment thing. I'm not being like, oh my God, I love him so much. No, when he was in Boston, he was all over the place. Watched him at Frozen Four. Phenomenal hockey player. You couldn't ignore him that Hobie Baker year. When he went to Calgary, he disappeared out of my mind because everyone does in Calgary, right?
Oh, there you
But
go to Cowtown.
But I mean, back when Lindholm and him and Tuchuk were on a line together, that was incredible that year. I think they all had over 40 goals.
Mm-hmm.
I I don't want to talk about what he did for hockey. I just want to say that fucking sucked. That's it.
Yeah.
It
Yes.
sucked. And I feel like this bad news keeps happening to Columbus. It happened with I don't want to butcher his name, but their goaltender is Kiwi Lennox, I think,
Mm-hmm.
with the fireworks incident. Um,
Oh
they
yeah, that's right.
they
But
can't get they
yeah.
can't get
Oh my gosh, how did I
anybody.
forget?
Yeah, man, it's just because you know why you forgot? Because they have such bad news all the time
Yeah. Yeah.
that it's like, what new are we talking about here? Like now Liney's gone. I mean, he didn't do anything there for them. He's the same thing as a PLD situation where he's going to go to Montreal, and we talked about that prior. But they just can't keep it. But I don't have their roster up because I don't want to dive into it. The Columbus Blue Jackets are not even in a transition phase. They're in a what the fuck now phase.
Right.
And I just hope for their fans that they can find some joy at some point this year. There are some, I know there's young studs. There's Kent Johnson's. Werenski's a great defense. I know all that, okay? It's not enough to get you into talking about being a thing here, right? You're not really even in this division. You're just a hold the fuck on and hope for a first round pick for a little while. And I'm sorry to all their fans. This sucks.
Couldn't have
That's all
said
I
it
got to
better
say. Yeah.
myself, and it does suck. It's heartbreaking. But yeah, that is my last place team as well too, because yeah, they just unfortunately have a lot to heal from, and they gotta take some time and learn how to grow as a team here from going forward, because they lost a pivotal piece, and just a great person in that Columbus community. I've been to Columbus, Ohio, plenty of times. It's a wonderful city, and I want their fans to actually enjoy it, because they could be a true hockey town. And then they
Sure.
are. They are. They do support their team even in dark ages and stuff. That's how I really try to gauge it too. Um, you know, uh, it's just devastating what happened. But yeah, I'm got them as my last place here, because yeah, they are just in an absolute
What the fuck now?
what the fuck.
Yeah.
What the fuck.
Let's end on a positive note here, which is so fucking weird to say about the Flyers, but
Yeah, what the fuck.
but
What
but
are we supposed
let's
to do?
let's let's talk about the Flyers. They actually might be the most interesting team in this division for me. I don't think a lot of people or anyone would ever fucking agree with that, but when you look over their way, there is potentially exciting pieces moving forward. Some that I've already loved because of like their background and stuff like that. Um, and I just feel like they're just, you know how like I don't want them to do well. I don't like them. I sound like I'm fucking talking out of two sides of my face. Refresh. I don't like the Flyers. I actually like a lot of their team, or I'm excited for a lot of their team. Sean Couturier, taught by Bergeron's coach or dad or something. So
Yeah.
obviously he's fucking great. That's clear. Joel Farabee, Syracuse born,
Syracuse.
dog,
Yep.
dog. Bobby Brink. I mean, we don't know yet, but we know.
I was saying, I was like, where are you going to go with that one? I was like,
We don't know yet, but we know he's going to be great, and I think he's going to fit in just fine. Morgan Frost, Garnet Hathaway, Travis Konechny, Scott Lawton, and dude, these are Ryan Paling, another one. You have I'm leaving one off because I got to make a special little announcement for him. But then you've got where's that new kid? What was his name? There it is, Matvey Michkov. Michkov. He's all over the news, man. Russian stallion. Very excited to see what he brings to the table. From everything I've heard about him, he is the Obi for the Flyers. He's going to be this fantastic weapon. I'm not even comparing his game to Obi. It's just he's the Russian elite, like
just
coming
Russian.
over,
Just Russians
exciting.
are always. It doesn't hurt to take a Russian on your team ever. I mean, that's the.
I mean, it does for the contract negotiations, but it doesn't for the goal scoring. I'll put it that way.
Right.
But then there's their baby boy, that ginger snap, that guy that just gets your goat every time. He's just the perfect hockey player. And you know what? Wouldn't be the Flyers if there wasn't a redhead that just gets you going, right?
Right.
Owen Tippett, baby. Oh,
That's
and
my guy.
Tippett,
I had my eye on him on this roster the whole time. I'm like,
keeper.
that's keeper.
Kept him in my 8 this year for the fantasy. He's one of mine. I had to
Yeah,
literally,
it's
again, back
nice.
to the cousin, put hands on him to get that trade done, but I did. Okay, moving down the line. I'm gonna go into goaltending real easy. Piece of shit, out of here. He's fucking
Hey,
gone.
I was going to say we got a new free agent. That's for sure. You got a
No,
fucking
we
free
don't.
agent in Philly.
No, they have. I'm pretty sure they're not even allowed in like the K. So they ain't no free agent. But bye, good riddance. I
Yeah,
have no fucking clue what this goaltending situation's gonna look like.
that's
They're
yeah. They
That's
don't
why they're
have one.
seventh. They don't have one, right? Cal
No.
Peterson, I've heard some things about. Everyone else is a big question mark. I have three. Let me just look here. Three things I'm excited about in the back end. One, Cam York's a stud. Cam York's phenomenal. We already know that, and he's just going to blossom into another thing. Number two, where is he? Jamie Drysdale. I know that most Flyer fans hated that trade, but I
But
forget
it's
the
good
kid's
for them.
name. He went to the Ducks, and he was requesting a trade from the Flyers. You were never going to have him anyways, and you got Drysdale. I know
Yeah,
Drysdale's
what was
injured a
his name?
lot.
Like Cutter or something like that? Was that the
Cut,
dude?
yes, cut or something. I can't. It doesn't really
Go
matter.
yeah.
Cutter Gauthier.
Gautier.
That's
Gautier.
why you're the goat right there, Alex. Thank you. Maybe I'm
Kidneys.
fucking wrong.
No,
Maybe
that's it.
that wasn't it. I hope it is. All right. Jamie Drysdale is always injured, but that was such a great return for what you were going to lose for nothing if you didn't get something. And Drysdale's still young, has potential, and is a good defenseman.
Yeah,
He's
he's young.
finally out of that man-on-man defense in Anaheim, and he's more into a structure. And I feel like he's just going to blend in really well and be a little bit more protected. I say that, and I think he got injured like the first week he was a Flyer. Not my problem. I'm not a part of that staff. But I think in time he's going to get tougher, and he's going to fit in just fine. And then Oliver Bonk. Oliver Bonk looks like he's going to be fucking awesome. So the Flyers are not a good team. I don't like them. However, I'm going to watch a lot because there's a lot of fucking kids that are exciting. That's my personal take.
Well, that makes
Goal
one of us. I'm not going to watch a fucking minute of that garbage ass team from that garbage ass city, and
sure.
I'll proudly say that here. But yeah, no, I think you're right. There's key pieces, and that's been the fucking story for the Flyers for a while too. They've always had these key pieces. What do they do with them? Nothing. No, they don't have a goaltender at all. So yeah, I just don't see them really doing anything. I think they have a nice little settled in spot at 7 there for me.
What what would make them move? Would it be goaltending? Because I feel
Um,
like
thoughts
I
and prayers.
I I mean they I don't know. I haven't researched anything on this, but he's not still the coach, right? What's his Tortorella? Tortellini.
Torts.
Is he still there?
You know what? Probably wouldn't hurt if it was, but I don't. Yeah, I didn't see him moving. Yeah, yeah, yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think
Honestly,
we're
I
going to
didn't
be
hear
split
anything
on
about him
that.
moving.
He needs to get the fuck out of the NHL.
Yeah,
He's just he's an old jerk. Like I would love to just sit here and swear a bunch. He's just a jerk. He's
yeah,
exhausting. He
yeah.
comes out, he talks to the media like they're dogs. Like you're not better than anyone, dude. Like you're an old man. You've never made a team successful. You've never been on a team that's been successful. But apparently you're a great hockey mind and you're always getting hired everywhere. I think that he eats and chews up those players. And this is not the right guy for a youth movement. I think you need a young Monty type. And again, Monty's just my comparable because he's over here. He's younger, fun, gets it, used to the speed. Flyers
Yep.
need that change first before anything, in my opinion. But
Yeah, it was nice to kind of have the dad there to kind of just not let all the Rugrats go everywhere for a second there. But you definitely speak for both of us on that.
all right.
Get on. You
Yep.
know, you're just an
Yep.
old grumpy fuck and nobody cares about you and we don't need your
Yep.
trauma anymore. Get out.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
so, and like you said, with these key pieces, these young pieces, man, get somebody fun in there and maybe the Flyers can, and, turn it up a notch.
Yeah, I hope not. I don't want to see
But
them
at the same
succeed
time, you can still stay rotting there in the dumpster that you were all born in.
for sure. Well, that's the Metro for me.
That
Again,
was it.
not we're not reporters, we're not insiders, we don't know. This is all a feeling. Wouldn't be surprised if Capitals were number one and we were just so wrong. But as it stands right now, I agree with you in a lot of this. Um, yeah, and I'm excited to see. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen this year because you were right when you were telling me earlier. How do you split up teams that are a point away from each other in the standings from last year? And I told you with your gut, just gotta what do you look at, what do you see, and just say it. I think we're
Yep.
pretty similar.
Yep. We'll see how this all turns out here. So yeah, that was the Metro. Just want to thank you all for watching episode 2 here. We are going to be attacking the Central the week after this here. So stay tuned, guys.